Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Mindset You. I'm Jason Moreno, aka Punchline J, full of energy, ready to go. And if you guys notice, if you guys keep up with this, the little rotation's a little changed this time. I got Rances right next to me, aka Mr. Roboto, and then on the bottom over here we got Moses Santos, aka Moody Mo. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Yeah. How you doing, bud? You want to use your words just for the audio people?
I don't want to use too many words. I want to save it for the conversation.
Got it.
That way,
awesome.
they might run out. It might run out.
They might run out. Cool.
They're like magic bullets. So
sweet. That's awesome. Today's episode is all about self-doubt and how you can stop being a little bitch.
You're not far off, doubt. You're not far off when you do say that.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I had to talk with myself today of don't be a bitch. At the gym today, so that's how I look at it. But I don't think that's fair to look at it to label that for everybody, because some people are more sensitive than others. So it's not nice to tell them to stop being a little bitch, even though you should stop being a little bitch sometimes. And I stand by that. This has nothing to do with my coaching episode. Buddy, you're not a little bitch. You're awesome, even though you don't watch this, but I appreciate it. So I really wanted to pick you guys' brain about it because, like I was saying in our meetings, the reason why I thought this would be a good topic is because this past week I've had several conversations with different friends where this like crippling self-doubt is like starting to like show its ugly head in their lives. And when they talk to me about it and they kind of look for advice, the only thing I can do is be like, stop being a bitch. You got it. But like that, I don't know how helpful that fucking is for somebody to just be like, it's fine. It's all in your fucking head. You fucking dumb bitch. Like that doesn't work, you know? So I figured, for some people it does. For some people it does. But I figured if I go to you guys, the coaches who might be able to word it better, I think maybe we could help some people out who are dealing with these things. So I feel like a lot of people, at least with the situations that I've heard friends going through this week, it's not so much where they're like, oh, I don't think I'm prepared for this. It's like, oh, things are going too well right now. And it's like, I get that feeling sometimes, but like,
are they millennials?
No, they're our age. They're in our age.
We're millennials.
We're millennials. Got it.
Oh yeah. So everything is like that because the world is always ending for us. So
no, I get it.
I feel that way all the time.
It's like, yeah, but I mean, I keep that shit to myself.
So wait, what I'm hearing is you don't want them venting to you.
No, it's just that like, it's some of the friends that they're really good at venting, but they're not good at listening. So it's like if I go like, so I'll ask them like, how's your day going? And I'll get like this like 30-minute conversation. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I had something similar. So it's like, oh yeah, I gotta go. I'm like, cool. Fuck me, right? You just need to talk at somebody. Awesome. So I also started leading conversation with, do you need to talk at somebody? Like, can I just put my phone down and you just need to talk and I'll put you on speaker and I'll go, crazy. And then you'll be like, oh, I felt so good. You know, thank you for listening. Or do you want to actually have a conversation sometimes? Because I have a few friends who aren't very good listeners.
Well, you know, to me is the base concept of there's a lot of, I'm not even going to say a lot of people. In my experience, I've seen that the majority of people I converse with have a perception issue. They see the world through only their eyes and can't even imagine that there's other possibilities, other perspectives.
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's like if you're listening to someone, right? They're the main character in their movie. You're just like a supporting character, you know?
I'm the sassy gay friend, apparently, in a lot of their rom-coms. I'm the one like, girl, you got this. Like, that's what I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, in many folks' world, that's what they see. And then when they're able to shatter past that and start to see other possibilities, that's when things shift.
Yeah.
Because you realize that things aren't happening to you. Things are just happening. Right.
Mhm.
But that shift is the work, right? That shift is kind of what you're talking about. Like, for example, if you're looking at, if you put it like this, if you're watching a movie, right, and the movie starts and everything is great, you know the movie just started, so where's the drama, where's the issues that are going to happen?
Yeah.
Now think of the same idea. I'm watching my movie and I'm the main character, things are going really well, so now I have an anticipation of, okay, so where's the drama?
Mhm.
When is it going to drop, right? And it's a response of, like, number one, fear, right? Fear of letting yourself enjoy something and then it being ripped away from you. There's a lot of that happens.
Yeah.
Right. And there's also this idea of like scarcity, that things are finite and going to, if you're not super careful, they're going to be, again, ripped away from you. So like these two ideas all is about the plot that you're seeing your movie play out. When, I mean, in my opinion, the most impactful approach is to look at yourself as the creator of your life. You are the director, right? And there are thousands and thousands of other movies playing in your movie, and you're nothing but a supporting character. To me, it sounds like ass backwards, but that's the most empowering perspective that you can hold. How you get people to see that, now that takes coaching.
Got it. Yeah, that's way nicer than my approach of just telling me, nothing matters and we're probably gonna die tomorrow, right? Just do it.
I resonate with more of that.
Yeah, that we're gonna die tomorrow.
Yeah,
Just do it. Yeah.
that's just the way that I get over self-doubt. I'm like, none of this shit matters anyway.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, what the fuck am I worried about right now? It's like, we're gonna die tomorrow. It's fine.
I mean, we're all gonna die, so like,
Yeah.
it doesn't
I
fucking
just keep
matter.
telling myself that I'm gonna die tomorrow, and then when I wake up, I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'm alive."
But also, I think also the way that I think about it is like, all right, what are the things that can happen from this like this possibility? Like, what are all the possibilities going to
Yeah.
Rances's thing? And it's like, okay, like if I encounter these negative or these bad feelings, these bad emotions, quote unquote, what does that mean?
Mhm.
And typically I can't answer that question. And when I can't answer that question, then like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. If I can't answer the question, like, what does it mean? Then it means nothing. So then it's just like, just keep moving forward.
How do you feel about that, Rances? Because I saw you look off for a second.
No, for me, it's like it is the idea, but it's like, because what Moses is basically highlighting is like when you dig into trying to understand where the source of it, and you're like, you end up finding nothing, that you're like, oh, I'm just creating here. I'm just creating these feelings, so I can choose to create this. And to me, like, yes, that is super important. And the more you learn to do that by learning to be vulnerable, because what happens in what I see, what happens is in those situations, people try to, let me just not think about this. Let me just not think about it, which is the worst, because then you put it into a little corner where it just grows, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I was just thinking about like what Moses said, like, it's the actionable step in that. It's like looking into that cave, look into that corner, and you're going to see that it's all nothing. It's all like, oh, wait. Oh, so what if I don't get this raise or this job offer or whatever is that you're like creating? Or what if you get this job and you fail and then you get fired? Actually, my wife and I were just talking about that idea today, about like corporate life. And for me, like, so she wants to introduce me to some folks in her company. And she's like, well, I want to make sure that I do it right. And I was like, it's no right. Like, just introduce me, and then once they get to know me, they're either gonna like me or not. Like, doesn't matter. Like, they're gonna know what they're gonna get from me because I'm gonna be me. If it's too much for them, it's too much. So they're gonna say no to that, and it doesn't matter because it's all going back to your point. It's all pretend. Like, we're all pretending and all this stuff. Like, this is important, and this is what needs to happen. This is all expectations, and we don't need the storyline to go as we expected it for it to be a good story.
That's fair. Yeah. I also think that, like, I think people forget that, it's a cliche like saying, but it's like when one door closes, another one opens. But it's true because that's life. I think a few podcasts ago, you mentioned a thing of like every door leads to another door, leads to another door, leads to another door. And there's like an infinite amount of doors that you can go through, kind of thing. And I was trying to get that point across to a friend the other day, and they're like, "How much pot have you smoked today?" I was like, "No, it's my boy. Like, I swear, like he was talking about it the other day, and it made so much sense." I was like, "And I saw Spider-Man. There's a multiverse, and it's all this shit. Who knows what fucking matters? Who knows if this is the real thing or what's the other thing?" And they're just like, "Shut the fuck up." Fair enough.
Something that we spoke about a couple episodes ago, that gratitude idea, really works when someone's really in their story, really in, it's like going through the shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, that sucks. What are you grateful for?
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I did that with G the other day. He would tell me his story about all the crazy shit that was happening to him. Okay, cool. All right. What are you grateful for? Just completely shifts somebody's perspective. He's like, oh, like, what am I grateful for? Then you sit there and you think about it, and you're like, you laugh at the story.
Yeah.
He ended up laughing at his story. And
Well,
I think
good.
that's just a really easy way to get someone to shift the emotional state in the moment.
Yeah.
With that, I just thought about it because I was having a similar conversation with a friend of mine. And the whole thing that kept happening was like, I didn't ask, what are you grateful for? I was asking them about, they were complaining about their siblings. And I was like, oh, what do they do well? Right. And they were like, yeah, no, because and he just kept ignoring the question. So I was like, stop. What do they do well? I was like, I don't know. And then that moment of pause of like, all of a sudden the way he started speaking just started shifting a bit, because again, it moved that perspective, that needle of like main characters, like, oh, what do they do well? Let me look at things from a whole different view. Oh, wait a minute. I'm judging because of the way I expect or what I expect.
Yeah. I think that especially goes like as a parent, I feel like you see that shift a lot more, right? Like when you're trying to get your kids to do something and then they come up with a different way. You're like, I didn't even think of it like that. You're so smart. Thank you for figuring it out on your own. Because my way wasn't working, I had that talk with my mom the other day. Essentially, she was just like, she keeps asking me like all the time. She's like, "Do you notice a change in me? Do you notice like a difference?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're not cunty anymore. It's kind of nice." Like, you're not every like. And those are literally the words I said, sir. It's not even like I'm playing it up for you guys. Like, literally, it was, no, you're not cunty McCunterson anymore. It's great. I think it's. Because you know what she asked me? She goes, when you were younger, were you intimidated by me? And I was like, of course I was fucking intimidated by you. I was like, your bark is so much worse than your bite. I was like, your bark was so bad that I didn't even want to find out what your bite was like because the bark was so fucking bad. And then I realized that you're fucking the minute that, like, when I was in high school, when we got into a fight and I just walked out the house and she didn't chase after me, I was like, that's all I had to do. That's all.
The story you had shared with us.
Yeah. Like, that's all I had to do to get this to stop. Wait for her to be in a bathrobe and just walk out. Like, but I think it's just something like with age as we get older, and that's not, I think if you do some work with age, I think you start to realize that a little bit more. that your way is not the only way, that there's more than one way to, no pun intended, skin a cat. And then and I just wish more people would look at things like that instead of being, like you said, so focused on being the main character of their story. That's a good analogy that I'm going to start using. Because I really enjoy that. Like, you're a supporting character. I hate to break it to you. Everybody thinks there's a fucking Carrie Bradshaw. I'm gonna go Sex in the City on you guys for a second. Everybody thinks they're fucking Carrie. They're really fucking Samantha, you dirty sluts. No, I'm kidding. If you don't know who Samantha was, she was the old lady who always showed her boobs on that show. A whole 7 seasons looking at Charlotte, waiting for boobies to come out.
Super rich one, right? She was like really successful.
Yeah, the blonde with Kim Cattrall. Yeah.
You said something, Jay. You said about age, right? As you grow older, and there's an element of truth to that, but it's not because of the age factor. It's more so because of the practice factor.
Yeah.
Which when you recanted it, that you said about it's doing the work, right? Doing the work means breaking the patterns. So basically, as you grow older, you either continue to practice. Mute yourself if you're gonna laugh. You either continue to practice the same reaction over and over and over again. You two are fucking the worst. All right, you know what, audience? I'll talk to you. These two assholes are in mute. And the idea behind all of this is like you have the opportunity to train yourself to react differently, or train yourself to continue to practice the same patterns. And when you practice the same patterns, you get the same fucked up results, and your life is shit. So you're bitch about it, you hate it, and you just continue to do that shit. But if you take the opportunity of awareness and shift that from just practicing the same shit, and you actually do something different, you look at things differently, you start to implement change, and you can take responsibility for either your life sucking or your life being great because you made it happen as the creator of your life.
That's fair.
Oh, that was so much better.
It was, right? You gotta get him mad more often.
Yeah, for real, bro.
That was fucking short.
I was actually listening.
To the point.
Yeah.
Woo! That was great. Also, I snorted halfway through it, and it made me laugh harder. And then watching him get angrier and angrier as he explained it made it even funnier. But that was also a very good point.
Speaking of that, like you guys are saying about me being angry, I am very well trained in anger response, so I'm actually better in angry.
You should be angry more on the podcast. You get those stories down. Oh, so Mo, as an athlete, I know that playing basketball, like you mentioned before, that when you were younger, playing ball with being like the perceived like the white boy on the team kind of thing. No, not even, but we had this conversation where, when you would have that self-doubt and stuff like that, like what helped you get through that kind of thing? Like what made you, I know that you mentioned before, like your dad always told you, like, you got to believe and stuff like that. But like, what helped you like break through that sometimes when like that wasn't enough?
When I was an athlete?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever broke through as an athlete.
Okay.
I think that I didn't have the understanding of those concepts or the concepts that I have now at that age.
Got it.
So I don't think I ever broke through. I don't think I would ever reached my potential as the athlete I could have been. A lot of variables into that,
of course,
that for the reason,
Yeah.
One, I was very emotional. Everybody knows I was like super emotional when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I would get very frustrated. And I think one of the things was when my parents divorced, that really took a hit on me and my confidence as like a basketball player, because my dad was someone that was in my life a lot when I was playing basketball. Like I learned everything from him. But I think now as a coach and working with athletes, it's really, really about understanding like what you go through emotionally, and that when you start attaching meaning to it, that it means something. So like when you have a bad game, does it mean that you're, a bad player, or you're not good at this sport, or you're not supposed you're not supposed to play this thing, or maybe you weren't meant to be, right? These are some of the thoughts that come through. I think for athletes, it's like, oh, if I can't function at this level or I can't play at this level, then that means I just probably shouldn't be here. And that's the whole thing, is this attachment to what people experience and what that means. And going back to Rances' point, it's just shit happening. It's just shit happening.
Shit happening. Are you gonna take responsibility for it, or
and you can train and try to get a better outcome for next time, and shit will still happen, and you'll be a little bit more prepared for it. And the more you train, the more prepared you'll be. And if you identify, I think like one of the most important skills I think that Rances also touched upon is identifying patterns. I don't think that's really spoken a lot about in just the coaching and education industries. Like, how do you help someone identify patterns of behaviors that, mess you up or get you in a place where you don't enjoy? And I think that's something that should be taught and would help a lot of people overcome self-doubt.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Also, I appreciate you being honest about your views on feeling like you didn't achieve your potential and stuff like that. Because I feel like a lot of people would give a lot of excuses and stuff like that, and for you to be so honest, that's actually really refreshing. Because that goes back to conversation that we had when I talked about having this self-doubt when it comes to like the fighting stuff, and how like it's real easy for me sometimes to want to resort back to being like the lazy J to find a way out of doing something. And I'm glad I found something I love, but it's still hard. It's still hard. Like I was saying earlier, today is just one of those days that, like, everything hurt, and I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, I could be doing so many other things right now. Like, why am I here for 5 hours today? And like, you're right. It's to break patterns. It's to, I just don't want to go back to the old Jay who was set in his ways, and I just want to change things up. And I feel like this is a great way for me to do that. So I have to constantly remind myself that of like why I'm doing this.
I think also looking at the pressure, right? Pressure is a privilege, right? And when you're feeling a lot of that pressure from all different directions, that you're like, why do I even, right? Things can be so much easier, more comfortable. Like, I think it's important to remember when you were comfortable, to remember, like, not just like, oh, I didn't feel stressed, but also I felt like shit. I felt stressed from the sense of like, I'm not doing anything. Like that feeling of like, I'm not doing anything with myself. Like, remember that. Like, highlight that, and then come back to like, okay, right now I feel pressure to reach this thing, and I'm afraid that I'm not going to reach it. And that fear is what's holding me back to try to and really go after it. Right. So I can have an excuse and say, oh no, because like you mentioned about Mo, like him being honest, and like, there's no excuse. Like, sure, I didn't have the tools or whatever, but the reality is that I didn't achieve it. That honesty with yourself is what allows you to really put a whole new lens on all of that, and have the experience of like, oh shit, I'm fucked up today. But this is better than that feeling.
Yeah, it's like when I came to terms with finding out, with just, realizing that I'm a grower, not a shower. Like, sometimes you just gotta, you just gotta face the facts. If I get pants, I might not be the most impressive guy, but you work me up. You get me excited. You're like, oh, okay. Okay, we're working with something here. So like, no, I get it completely. I understand, So, yeah.
To continue, I also think that having doubt is part of the process.
It really is.
I don't think there's any way around it. The question is, it goes back to what you said. It's, why are you doing it, and do you really want it? And if you do, then just understand that doubt is part of that, and you're going to experience it. And if it ain't hard, then you're probably not doing it right, because it's supposed to be hard. And if it were easy, I think everybody would be able to do it.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. And I remind myself that a lot.
I think with kind of that point, like all of those little nuances is like there's a big factor there because there's still growth happening.
Yeah.
Right. And I just wanted to touch upon the idea of like, yeah, keep doing things, ask yourself if this is what you want, so on and so forth. There's going to be sometimes that you answer, I don't know if I want this. I don't want this. Right.
Yeah.
But it's like recognizing that that doesn't stay constant, that motivation doesn't stay constant, that desire doesn't stay constant, but your discipline can keep it constant, because when you fluctuate, when you hit those points where you're bored, right, you're looking for the challenge, you're looking to how you improve yourself, and that is what keeps you going.
So how do you know when to quit?
And that was kind of what I was thinking about, because like for me, basketball was like my first love. Like I was obsessed with basketball, whatever. And then there hit a point where I was like I'm just going through the motions. Like I feel like I'm distracted on something else. Same thing happened with me in martial arts.
You were supposed to play baseball.
It's in his blood.
With martial arts, it was the same thing. Like it was like my obsession for 6 years of my life. Like and then one day it was just like I'm not having that same kind of drive. There's something pulling me, right? In that moment, it's what Moses and I call the ego death. You experience like this persona of who you believe you are, and you feel like you're losing that, and you're mourning it, and you're just trying to keep everything the same. But I think what ends up happening, and the way that is when basically it's boredom. Is not from the side of like it's too hard, I don't have the motivation and energy. It's literally I'm bored, I can do this in my sleep. I think that's when you can actually entertain that question of like, am I ready to move on? What do you think, Mo?
I mean, I think that can also be an excuse too. It all depends. For me, it could be like you're not being challenged enough. Right. So are you bored? Is like, are you putting yourself in a space where you're being challenged as an individual? Right. Because maybe you're a boxer and you're fighting amateur fights and you just keep winning and all this stuff. And then you're just like, oh, I'm getting bored. And I put you in like a fight with a professional boxer and then get your ass handed to you. What does that make you feel like after that? Yeah. Then to me, it's like, okay, that's when you really get your answers. Like, I'm still bored. Like even though I lost, I'm still bored. Like it wasn't for me. Like, okay, then, maybe.
Yeah, that resonates, because that for me, those experiences were like that. It was like, no, but for me, it's like I'm disciplined. I don't care. These emotions are telling me whatever. And I keep pushing. I keep pushing it, and I go through things, and it's like I put myself in different situations. Like in martial arts, for example, I was putting myself to visit other academies and fight with people, and it was like, again, still felt like going through the motions. Like getting my ass beat felt good, because it was like, oh, okay, like
I feel something.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the passion for the fight, you know?
Yeah. No, I get that completely. Yeah, I'm still at that point where I enjoy a good ass whipping. And everybody notices it, because I really start, if you punch me hard, I smile. And everyone's like, oh shit, okay, he's having fun now. And I'm like, because it rung my bell, and it's like, oh shit, I'm in a fight. Holy crap. Like, we aren't playing. Like, this is real. I have to move. But it also, it's like, oh, I'm learning. And I think that's the one thing that I do appreciate about this for now. is that I still enjoy the learning process of it, no matter how painful it is. It hasn't discouraged me yet from being like, I should just, stick to hitting the pads in the bag kind of thing. It's like, no, I want to compete. This is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me purpose, which I kind of like.
Yeah. So I wanted to underline that. Like, I think that's the key message here. Like, if growth is happening, right, and you're expanding into that growth, and as you reach that, like, you continue to reach for growth and enjoy that growth, like, that's an indication for you, like, in terms of vision of like, oh, I can imagine myself now being in the ring at a bunch of people. Like, you can reach for that kind of growth vision of yourself. There's still that kind of aspect of it, but then also being curious and open with other possibilities of that, because it could be like we were talking in the last episode, coaching. It's like, well, it's still within this, but it kind of turning into like coaching, and there's growth there that I'm kind of reaching out to. So it's like, I think there's a balance of like keeping that discipline, but having that open curiosity and willing to play in muddy waters, if you will.
Yeah, I like that. You know what? I think that's a good point to end off at. In the efforts that we're trying to make these episodes not 2 hours long, because we're not Joe Rogan yet. I think that's a good tip. I think that if you're experiencing self-doubt, I think you need to think about like the purpose, and if it's worth, like Mo said even earlier, like is it worth fucking fussing over? Is it worth it? Is it worth fucking beating yourself up over? And also, sometimes it's good to be your own like toughest critic, but you're also looking at it from a very skewed view. And I think people need to realize that when they do that to themselves, kind of thing. Stop being a bitch. Love yourself a little bit more. Give yourself some acceptance, and then start asking yourself why you feel those kind of ways, and try to look deeper into it. As somebody who liked to be emotionally shallow for a good portion of his 20s, it's not as fun as it sounds.
And last thing is, with underneath this video and all the past previous videos, there's a 10-year vision document that who's ever listening can use to kind of get that vision, that clarity of what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. So use it, and also like, subscribe, find us everywhere. VidaProject.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, right? YouTube Podcasts is a thing now. YouTube Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere. Find us. We're there.
Can I add one thing? Don't just like and subscribe. Can you guys like share it so we can get past
share
the 9 listeners that we have?
I was waiting for it. I was like, wow, he didn't mention it when
I wanted to get Rances upset.
Look at him now. Now you hurt his feelings. He's gonna go recalibrate.
Rances, we have growth. We're consistent, and we're consistent because of you. I will say that.
Yeah.
Rances, make sure that we get our podcast done. Always.
We're growers, not showers right now, and that's okay.
On that note, we love you guys.
Love you guys.
Peace.
Later.